And what's going on, everybody? I am Kadarius Washington, and it is a Football Friday, which means it's time for another edition of the CW Six Pack, our weekly little pick segment where we take 6 games across the NFL slate and we pick those 6 games against the spread. And folks, as you can see here, I am fully decked out in my Panthers paraphernalia because as of last night, following the Atlanta Falcons win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Carolina Panthers are now in sole possession of first place in the NFC South. Now, of course, we got to handle our business on Sunday against the Saints, 4:25 kickoff, and I am not picking that game for, obvious reasons. But nevertheless, the Carolina Panthers in first place in the NFC South. Folks, it's actually fun to be a Carolina Panthers fan again. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into our picks. Now, folks, from last week, 2 things can be true at the same time. Number one, that was by far one of my worst recording weeks. All I had was my iPhone and my iPad for my picks. I didn't have my full recording equipment, but somehow that was by far our single best week of picks this year. Folks, last week we went 5-1 in our picks. I mean, look, the only pick that we got wrong last week was the Bears plus 6.5 against the Packers, and even then we got burned with that late Josh Jacobs touchdown and then Caleb Williams throwing that interception in the end zone on the Bears' last possession. But, folks, we went 5-1 in our picks last week. We took the Steelers plus 5.5 against Baltimore. That was a win. We took the Seahawks minus 6.5 against the Falcons. That was a win. We took the Rams minus 8.5 against the Cardinals. That was a win. We took the Texans plus 3.5 against the Chiefs. That was a win. And then the Chargers plus 2.5 against the Eagles. That was a win. So 5-1 in our picks last week. And folks, we are back over 500 on the year. We are 44-1 in our picks so far as the season is concerned. But nevertheless, it's a new week. It's time for some new picks. Let's keep this winning going, and here we go. All right, so early afternoon window. Let's do the Buffalo Bills against the New England Patriots. Bills 1.5-point favorites on the road. Of course, Buffalo coming off of their comeback win against the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Patriots coming off of their bye week. Of course, the Pats riding a 10-game win streak and can lock up the AFC East with a win. A win would really do well for Drake May's MVP case, but they're going up against a tough Bills team who has won 3 of their last 4 and 5 of 8 since their last meeting in Week 5. And as I've said, folks, in sports, the closeout games are the hardest games to win, especially against divisional opponents for obvious reasons, and I just can't picture the Bills letting the Patriots sweep them. I say Josh Allen is going to do everything humanly possible to win the game. James Cook should be able to hold on to the ball, and the Bills have more of a sense of urgency than the Patriots do. I say New England's 10-game win streak comes to an end on Sunday. I am laying the 1.5 with the Buffalo Bills. All right, let's do the Los Angeles Chargers against the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs 5.5-point favorites at home. The Chargers coming off of that overtime win over the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Chiefs coming off of a loss last Sunday night against the Texans. And folks, what I will say is that it looks like the Chargers' O-line injuries are looking like they're starting to catch up to them, because last week against the Eagles' pass rush with no Jalen Carter, by the way, Justin Herbert was running for his life. But I really like the Chargers' defense, and this Chiefs offense has no life, no run game, targets, dropping the ball. I mean, the Chiefs just feel busted with no pizzazz, plus 5.5 points are a lot of points. I can see the Chargers potentially sticking the final dagger into the Chiefs' playoff hopes and dreams in 2025. I'm going to take the points here and I'm going to go with the LA Chargers. All right, late afternoon window. Let's do the Detroit Lions against the Los Angeles Rams. Rams 5.5-point favorites at home. Lions coming off of that win against Dallas last Thursday night, and the Rams coming off a win against the Cardinals. And folks, here's all you need to know for this game. Everything that the Lions do, the Rams do better. The Rams are the best team in football right now. They have the best offense in football. Their defense is great. They have the current MVP favorite in Matthew Stafford. And one thing about Stafford, he's going to put that ball in the air, and he's going to do it against a Lions defense who lost Brian Branch for the year, which is very costly for Detroit. I could see the Rams flexing their muscles in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game was a blowout. So I'm going to lay the 5.5 here with the Los Angeles Rams. All right, let's do the Green Bay Packers against the Denver Broncos. Packers 2.5-point favorites on the road here. Packers coming off of a win against the Bears, and the Broncos coming off of a win against the Raiders. And honestly, folks, I'm a little surprised that the Packers are favored in this game. I mean, the Broncos are riding a 10-game win streak. They're undefeated at home, and I think this is going to be a matchup of two really good defenses, but I think the Broncos defense is better. And I think the key matchup for this game is going to be the Broncos pass rush against the Packers O-line. The Broncos lead the NFL in 55 sacks, and the Packers have only allowed 18 sacks on the year, so something's got to give. But the Denver Broncos, they just find ways to win. I mean, style points don't really... It might not be a thing with them, but they just find ways to gut out wins when they matter the most. And the last time the Packers won in Denver, 2007. So I'm going to take the 2.5 here, and I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos. All right, Sunday nighter. We've got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Vikings coming off of that shutout win against the Commanders, and then the Cowboys, of course, coming off of that loss to the Lions last Thursday night. I mean, the Vikings, it's crazy. I mean, a week removed from getting shut out to the Seahawks, they shut out the Commanders. J.J. McCarthy had his best game as a pro last week against a horrible Commanders defense, and he's going up against a, now better defense in the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't know which version of J.J. McCarthy we're going to get, but I'm not going to hold my breath to think it's going to be the good one. And the Cowboys were on a high over the last few weeks, but that came crashing down last Thursday night against Detroit in typical Cowboys fashion. I can see this game being competitive, but I really like the Cowboys in this matchup. Plus, CeeDee Lamb has cleared concussion protocol. He's going to play in the game, which is a big deal for the Cowboys. The spread kind of worries me for a matchup like this, but I'm going to go ahead and lay the 6.5 with Big D. All right, Monday nighter. We've got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers 3.5-point favorites at home. The Dolphins coming off of that win against the Jets, and the Steelers coming off of that win against the Ravens. And folks, the Miami Dolphins still being alive in the AFC playoff picture was not on my bingo card. I thought Miami's season would be well over with by now, and Mike McDaniel would have already been gone after that Browns game. But since that Browns game, they've won 5 of their last 6 and currently riding a 4-game win streak, and they're going up against a Steelers team that is very up and down. And by the way, folks, the Pittsburgh Steelers have not won a primetime game this year. They are 0-3 in primetime games in 2025. And to me, this feels like a coin flip toss-up game because I don't trust either team in this game. But I'm going to take the Steelers here. I mean, they're coming off of a good win last week against Baltimore, and Devon Achane's status for Miami is up in the air after suffering that rib injury last week. And the Steelers, I think, are going to be one win closer to the 9-8 Super Bowl, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to lay the 3.5 here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, our picks this week. Buffalo -1.5, the Chargers +5.5, Rams -5.5, Broncos +2.5, Cowboys -6.5, and the Steelers +3.5. 3.5. Like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell to be notified of when I post again, and also follow me on Twitter and on Bluesky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. Enjoy the football, everyone, and I will see y'all the next time. Peace.